Hi, this is Christopher Lewis, and welcome to Dating Intelligence, the podcast where we give relationship advice from dating to marriage and everything else in between. And always with the goal of helping you to continuously be the best you at all times.
So if you're looking for real, honest information to help you navigate your relationships, we've got you covered.
We've got you covered. All you see is a
I
hand
was
coming on
waiting
your
for you.
shoulder.
I was like, where's my note? Where's my note?
Hi, guys. Welcome to another day with us, Jamie Villamore and Christopher Lewis, and another day at Sticky Paw Studios. And hi.
I knew I should have locked your ass out of my car when I picked you up today.
Guys, Jamie said when she picked me up today, I was waiting for her, and she goes, "What pole are you on?" I said, "I'm at the stripper pole." She goes, "What number 5?" So when I get there, she said when I was pulling the door open, she was going to lock me off and drive off.
I was like, every pole in Vegas is a stripper pole. Don't fucking touch it and keep your hands to yourself.
Oh my God, I just brought some grease and just greased it up the next time. So, all right, guys, like I said, we're here. Hello.
Yeah.
We got another great episode today. And hi, Villamore, what's up?
Man, I'm fucking tired
I know
today.
you are. You went shooting yesterday.
I know,
and
I was on the range
concerts
all day.
What's this whirlwind you've been on? I've been seeing this on social media.
So I was invited to hang out at Tailfest this weekend, so it was amazing. A ton of very talented artists. So it was really fun. I ran into Michelle Rodriguez.
Oh, nice.
Who I'm a huge fan of.
Yeah, that's great.
Had
She's amazing.
some good conversations with her, and yeah, she's a total badass.
Yeah, she is.
I'll
Yeah.
have to
How is
try
she
and-
in like big presence when you saw her?
Big personality, just
yeah.
such a freaking lover though.
Okay.
Yeah, she's a really cool person. I bet our guest has probably had maybe some interactions with her. I don't know.
Oh, well, let's take a look and see.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we're going to get into this one today. So our guest today is an actor and a technical advisor who has literally done his field work for his role on the hit show SEAL Team. This former Army Ranger and Delta Force operator is a true American hero who has served time in Afghanistan and now serves up one-liners on screen to TV viewers. Please welcome and thank you for your service, Tyler Gray.
Thank you.
What's up, Tyler?
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Good to have you, man. Yeah, for sure.
No, it's great to be here.
I've been trying to get you on this show for like months.
Yeah. I was just saying that. I think it's probably been 3 months ish. Yeah.
It has been because I've had my intro waiting for you all this time. So it's been a while.
Yeah, but the filming schedule it doesn't it never changes to accommodate you. So
I'm sure.
it's just really difficult, but this worked out finally.
Good.
So very happy about that.
Great. Well, we're glad to have you. And the show's going great. Apparently, it's going really well. I've been researching and looking it up. So
Yeah, we're filming season 6 right
Amazing.
now, almost done. And then we're going to do a movie. I have no idea the timeline on it, but that's the next. We know that's happening. So it's been, 6 seasons at this point in kind of, the Hollywood entertainment
Right.
streaming world is pretty rare. So it's been an amazing run and just great experience.
yeah, guys, you got to check this one out. I mean, you got a real expert here who literally has been in Afghanistan. And how many years in the service, by the way, for you?
It was 9 by the time I got out.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was medically retired. I got hurt in Iraq, and I got medically retired. And then the 2 things I wanted to do as a kid was specifically be in the Army. I was, I watched, Rambo a million times.
Love that movie.
Being
Love
in
him.
being in the military was just something I always wanted. And I was a weird kid. I would watch Rambo and be like, he had PTSD, and I'm like, oh, that looks cool. I want that. I mean, it's such a messed up mentality, but I was like, he's so fucked up. I love it.
Right.
And the other thing I want to do, and obviously this kind of goes along with Rambo, is movies and the military were the 2 things that I loved. So when the first career ended, I went to Hollywood and tried to work, which is a process of meeting people.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes a long time, but it finally about 5 years in, I was able to start working full time doing entertainment. So Yeah, it's been really great.
Okay. Well, with your background now, did you feel like when you started in the acting realm, and we'll get back to the Army and your service and all that stuff, but in the acting world, did you feel like were they, not that they're pigeonholing you in like certain roles, but did you want to be like how right now you're in the SEAL team and you're being like an advisor on this, I'm sure 100%. Did you feel like you did more advising at the beginning of your career, or were you just jumping right in the acting and?
No, I definitely, when I started, I mean, I've never went to, I never went to acting school. I did do drama in high school, but whatever. It was really to meet girls, but
Smart man.
yeah, which let me tell you, it's a great place. But so I started advising. That was the first thing, and I did a couple projects, and then I did a movie where a friend of mine went on as an actor, and he did like a week, and I did, I think, 3 months advising, and he made more money than me.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy.
And I'm like, so on a film or TV, it doesn't matter. The only people not in a union are, if you're any kind of technical advisor, if you're advising doctors on ER or whatever it is, you're not in a union, and neither is the PAs. So because everyone else is in a union, those that aren't get screwed.
Right.
Why? Because they can,
Yeah.
So actually that project that I did, I actually had to say a line because I was doing stuff on camera, and then that got me into SAG. And then after that, every movie or whatever project I was doing, I just said, hey, I'll advise, but put me on camera. So I was under a SAG contract.
Oh, great.
Making a lot more money. And also being protected, like with, as an advisor, I could work 16 hours and I was getting paid for 8.
Yeah.
Once I was on the SAG contract, I was getting paid for, the
Double time, golden time.
Yeah. And it gets, so that's how I started. And then, I had no idea what I was doing. And just the more I was on camera, I just, kind of figured it out. So I never had an intent to be an actor.
Okay.
But then my real passion is directing. So I've directed 3 episodes of SEAL Team, and I love that. But being on camera, you learn so much about storytelling and how to direct actors, because I know what people tell me, and I'm like, they've never been on camera, because that doesn't make any sense. It's like when a director tells you, because hey, I'm eating in this scene. Do you want that line delivered, before I move the fork? Literally,
right.
like, because it's
Out of
it
sequence
matters.
and stuff, too.
Yeah, it matters. And he's like, oh, just act natural. And I'm like, you've obviously never been on camera, because there is literally nothing natural about being on camera. It couldn't be more artificial, you know. And then you have to match that every take from every different angle. So it's like there is no act natural. But so I've learned a lot, and now I actually really, really enjoy acting. It's I love storytelling, and you can a big aspect of storytelling is the actor's performance and how they choose to convey their character's story. So I really like it now, and I've been on camera for 102 episodes, whatever we're on now, and I've been around all these great actors. You had David Boreanaz. He's been literally on TV continuously for I think 25 years now.
He was don't tell me. He was on the Vampire with Buffy. He was what was his name? Oh God.
He was on Angel.
Angel, thank you very much. I was a big Angel fan.
Sorry,
yeah.
He was on Buffy, then he was on Angel, then he went to Bones for 11 seasons, and then he went straight to this. So
this guy has an illustrious career.
Oh
my God.
He's been, I don't know how he's done it, because it's not an easy schedule, but the other, Max Terriot, AJ Buckley, and Neil Brown Jr., all these really good actors, and I just learned from watching how they did things.
That's
and I
great.
would ask them questions, and now I really enjoy it. So it's but it wasn't something that I expected.
Of course. Wow.
Did it come natural for you, or did it require a lot of work on your end?
So that's kind of funny. So when I first started doing, dialogue, I just delivered it. I don't care about being on camera. I'm not uncomfortable at all. And I also didn't really, like, being an actor wasn't my thing. So I didn't really give a shit. So I just delivered, if it
Whatever
was a
line was there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I would just deliver it as me, I'm like, blah, blah, blah. And I thought that was pretty easy, really, for me, just because
Right.
I don't, the camera doesn't, it's never bothered me. And so that was like season 1 and 2. And then I started getting more like acting lines that required, like, comedy for me, so easy. But, the more dramatic stuff, I was like, at the end of season 2, I was like, I should probably know what I'm doing. So I went to this acting class, and I went like 2 times, and I was there, and I was like, this is not how this works. What the class was, I'm like, you can't do that before scene. There's not enough,
Right.
I'm like, they're teaching them these things, but you can't do it that way. You don't have the time. You deliver when they say, and you can't mess up anything. I stopped doing that class, and then I just really started asking the other actors. And what I figured out, and then I tried like season 3, I was like acting,
Okay.
and that was like not good. It was better to be natural, because I was like trying to put some performance in it. And then finally, season 4, I realized what the secret is, which is, be you, be 80% you, and just 20%, know where to put the performance in the dialogue.
Okay.
So I say, put some stank on it. Like,
Right.
there's most lines are not that important. Like, if I'm delivering a line like this and I'm just talking, but there is one thing that's the important part. That's it. Everything else is thrown away.
Got it.
But when I go, but that one thing, that's important.
Okay.
So everything, you just have to know where to act, where to put the performance into it. And
But also right now, I mean, because it's your character now. I mean, you've developed this character from season 1.
Yeah.
In theory, and now it's season 4, 5, and 6, which you're going into.
Yeah.
This is you now. So it's like whatever stink you put on it, it's going to be who you are. That they see
That
you
you've
now.
created.
That you've created. Thank you very much.
yeah. And the other thing too is it's, you're not in a real environment. So it's never really you, you're saying things that writers wrote. So it's not what I would say.
Yeah.
So you don't have to change it that much,
Okay.
or you don't have to, the character is, it's me delivering the lines, but it's still not what I would say. So it's different than me, and but it's been amazing. I've really enjoyed it, and I've learned a lot, and, I love telling stories, and specifically with this show, I'll in with this, what I love about the show and what makes me proud about it is, look, is it cool on, on a movie or a TV show? Does it look cool to, fast rope onto buildings and, ride in helicopters outside the helicopter? Does that stuff look cool? Yes, it absolutely does. Does it look cool to climb up a ship and assault the ship? All that stuff looks cool, and it is. But where I think the show really is important is that what the show is really about. I mean, that's the gloss on it, that's the action, but the show's really about all the characters, how their lives basically get demolished, like the what's the word I'm looking for? The destruction that job does to their lives over time.
Right.
That's what the show's really about, and that's a very honest portrayal of that job and of that community, and the military in general. So I feel like, we have some recruiting video type stuff, but at the end of the day, we're very honest that, hey, yeah, the job's cool. It's fun in a lot of ways, but it does come at a cost.
Okay.
And I'm very proud that we're able to put out that authentic portrayal of that life. Like, hey, you can do it, but this is what it is.
Okay.
You know, and I like that.
Do you feel like because of your history and career in the armed services, and then doing this, not to, I don't want to say overlap, but do you feel like you have some things in there because you are advising as well, and I'm sure it's probably that's the fun stuff for you and everything, recreation and all that, especially now as you're directing. When you leave, do you have to sometimes take a beat and go, whew, take a deep breath?
You know, it's weird. I get asked that question a lot, and it never feels similar.
Okay.
You know,
right.
Like when I can be in an action scene and, we're getting shot at and explosions are going off. And then I look behind the camera and there's, a dude walking around passing out sushi. So it's easy to not get too, caught up in that. And every once in a while, there was one time where I was walking towards a helicopter. We had a Black Hawk, and I was walking towards it, and I smelled the exhaust fumes, and that was like a, that flat, not fucking Vietnam, flashback, but it definitely like was surreal.
Gotcha.
And there's been a couple times like that, but it's never in the moments like of, it's never in the moments of peril in the show when we're getting shot at or blown up or whatever. It's in the moments where it's calm and, I'll be riding on a helicopter and it just kind of, takes me back. But the best thing, what's weird about the show is, I got medically retired, obviously, and when I got blown up, like it literally, I didn't know it was coming, obviously, and I didn't know my career was about to end, and it boom was over in a millisecond. So this for me has also been therapeutic in that I get to go play, I get to go play soldier again, or sailor technically, but it's
and come out unscathed in theory, right?
Right. It's fun. I mean, it is actually harder to. It's a lot more exhausting than I thought it would be. When I went into it, I was like, it's gonna be easy compared to the, being in the military, and when you're wearing kit and doing the same action sequence for 12, 13, 14 hours, it's definitely exhausting. But getting to ride on helicopters and do all that stuff again is really kind of gave me the closure that I was missing from the military.
Let's talk a little bit about your accident. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah.
Let's see your arm.
Oh, so
it's crazy.
Oh, shit, sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, so it, I mean, it was a pretty, that was about a 5-year process of surgery, rehab, surgery, rehab, or therapy, heal up a little bit, then another surgery. And then I did that cycle for about 5 years.
Wow.
And I was on, a shit ton of opiates for that whole time because, that's, legitimately, because after every surgery, I'd have to, I'd get on it, and then I'd get off, and then I'd have to get back on and get off. And, it was really, it was a difficult 5 years. And now, though, it's funny because, and actually this will come up later when we're talking about dating stuff, but all the, the worst thing that's ever happened to me at one time.
Right.
I look back 10 years later and I'm like, that was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Okay.
Like this,
wow,
best thing that ever happened to me. Because I am pretty confident. I don't think, I wouldn't have got out. I would have stayed in for 20 years.
I was going to ask you that.
I absolutely would have. And B, just because I didn't know how long the wars would continue too. And I wouldn't have left until they did, which I would have been in 20 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they were still going
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
even after 20 years. So, and I think I was dumb. I was young and
Well, you're Rambo. I mean, let's, like I said.
I'm fundamentally, and I'm totally serious when I say this, just kind of like the joke about, Rambo and like, oh, PTSD, that looks, I want that, I'm a fundamentally self-destructive person.
Okay.
That I have a fundamental basis of self-destruction. And my theory is that the kind of that warrior mentality, it's fundamentally self-destruction.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you operate in a space of high risk? That's excitement to you.
Yes, absolutely. I have to, people can say heroin's the most addictive drug. I think it's adrenaline, and I live life to risk it. I ride motorcycles. As you know, I got motorcycle. I got hit by a car a year and a half
Which
ago.
toted that
I didn't
mess up.
see him get hit by the car, but
Yeah,
but I did shoot guns with him.
Okay.
yeah.
And very impressed.
I'm
so
sure.
initially you were right-handed, correct?
Yeah.
So now he shoots left.
Oh, incredible.
So
Left-handed and that fundamental self-destruction too. Yes, it's definitely chasing adrenaline. It's chasing, like, I live life to risk it. That's how I feel. But I think on a bigger, I've heard, I've had this conversation and people are like, I don't know if that warrior kind of mentality ethos is self-destructive. And I go, well, think of it this way. 1,000 years ago, a bunch of dudes charged each other in an open field with swords and axes.
Yeah.
If that's not self-destructive, I don't know what is. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
like it's
Does that excite you when you think of that though?
weirdly, yeah.
It excites me. Does it excite you, Chris?
I mean, I'm just sorry. I was looking at the other. Hello, I'm a Kush boy here. Okay, I like my Kush. I like my life.
Yeah.
No, I like my adrenaline. I have my fun. But this is a whole nother level that he's talking about. It's
Yeah.
that thing where you just said about 1,000 years ago, like it was just like you charge and you just go for it.
Fucking,
But then
you're all
there's
in.
like probably 80% of those guys are full on. The rest of 20 are like, why the fuck am I running towards this? And it's like
Yeah.
Right.
Everyone's got their different things, but and the point that I was making, because I've talked to a lot of people about this, is the job by definition is self-destructive. I mean, there's nothing, running towards gunfire that's destructive. So I think there has to be a fundamental mentality of self-destructiveness to do that job. And then what's interesting is once that job ends, whether you get hurt and get out, whether you just get out, whether you retire, it doesn't matter. You're still that same person. And it's shocking to me that people don't see that, dude, the job was self-destructive. So is it really that surprising that when you get out, you're still self-destructive?
right.
No, that's who you are.
Yeah.
And so for me now, it's about taking that fundamental self-destructiveness and just channeling it into positive, less self-destructive things.
Okay.
So, and for me, the entertainment industry is so chaotic, and it comes at a cost. Like, the reason so many actors have issues is it's a destructive lifestyle, and it fits me perfectly.
What makes it self-destructive or a destructive industry, in your opinion?
So I'll say this for actors specifically, the mechanism of production and filming, nobody cares. Nobody cares. Like, look at Robert Downey Jr. Look at all the drug problems with actors. The reason is because you are expected to deliver at extremely high energy every scene all day for 12 hours. That's not sustainable. So it's, Hayden Panettiere, I think, her actually bodyguarded her, which I have a really funny story about. But, she was on, she was given Adderall as a kid, and I think, I forget what they called it, but happy pills. They called it happy pills, so she could do interviews and things like that. And she was up to a lot. And again, did they know what was going on? Of course they did,
Yeah.
but they don't care. As long as she comes in and delivers, no one cares. So they absolutely, that industry does and has always reinforced, destructive behavior, because it's kind of required to, you're kind of sacrificing your health and time and mental health to do that job.
Right. And let's just, like, you've just touched upon something we can just add onto that layer. It's the same, like, I can just say as much as the sports industry. There's lots of different issues, because it's like, you're basically at this point, just like you said, you're just a small part of the overall big picture, like you said, especially in the acting industry and that world, because, like you said, you're required to be on set for so many hours. You're required to learn your lines. Like you said, to be at the highest level, to do your best performance all the time. And just like in sports, the same way. And probably some of these high profile jobs. I mean, obviously the military service, when you're really in it, it's somewhat similar. We don't know how much sleep you actually get in those sense of the words, and those when you're really in it as well. So these are grueling jobs, man. And so something's got to give, and it's usually your psyche at that point, I feel like.
Yeah. And again, the process of just, like, if you look into the military, like, they give amphetamines to pilots. They give amphetamines to soldiers, because how else are you going to do an 18-hour mission at night, when you've had 3 hours of sleep? And,
Right.
And it's not, the entire German military in World War II was, the Blitzkrieg was based on methamphetamine.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
They gave
I
them,
didn't know that.
Yeah.
they gave them meth straight up. It was called Pervitin. And the entire German army was on meth, literally.
Yeah.
Which also makes you fearless, by the way. So, that's why the German soldiers were just doing crazy shit. They were, they were methed out, But it's been around for a long time on and again, separate from the military, but just the powers that be, whatever the people that they need to get the product they want, give them whatever they want.
I was about to say, it's like there's no means to an end, when just like you have to literally, like, anything, like you said, military, that situation, acting, if someone at the top is getting what they need out of all of these things to make it work and getting paid, or whatever it is, power or whatever, they will do whatever it takes to keep the wheels going.
Right. So tips or tricks for anyone that has, like, PTSD, like, what worked for you?
Oh, great question. That's a great question. So I'll say this. So PTSD, referring to PTSD specifically, PTSD, the problem I have with that term or that diagnosis is that PTSD is not even remotely specific to combat veterans, nor is it specific to the military. It is a very broad term that a person legitimately can have PTSD from a car accident.
Mm-hmm.
You could be, slapped as a kid and have PTSD from that. Your mom, ripped on your hair your whole life. So you freak out when something happens with your hair. I mean,
Right.
those are all, possible clinical examples of actual PTSD. So the problem I have is when you get diagnosed with PTSD, what does it really mean? If that phrase or that diagnosis encapsulates like this much, it's so non-specific that it really, to me, it doesn't mean anything, because it's so broad, it encompasses so much. How do you go about, fixing that?
Right.
And there's a lot of therapies and all those different things, but for the military and for combat veterans specifically, I think it's a lot more complicated than just saying PTSD. I made up a term for myself. I don't know if this applies to, it'll apply to some, it won't apply to others. I don't have PTSD. I figured that out. Like they were telling me, you have PTSD, and I'm like, okay, well, what is that? What does that mean? It's this. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't have any of those things. I'm definitely fucked up, no
Yeah,
question.
right.
But I don't have those things. And they're like, oh no, you do. Denial is one of the definitive signs of it. And, all these, smart, psychologists, psychiatrists, all these things, and therapists. And I just went, and they keep telling me what it is. And, I finally said to one of the psychologists, I just said, look, you know what you know about PTSD from college. You're telling me what it's supposed to be, and I'm telling you what it is. Like, I'm telling you how I feel. And it's not fitting in with what you're saying. So I basically decided, screw it. I'm going to figure it out myself. And I came up with, and there was a whole thing that happened that made me come up with this, but I have what I call LTSD. I don't have post-traumatic stress syndrome. I have lack of traumatic stress syndrome. And what I mean by that is, if you're a good, member of a normal first world society, if you work well and fit well in America, you should suck in a war zone because it is the 180-degree opposite of regular society. You should suck. Once you get to the point where you're good in that combat environment, and you can deal with it and you can handle it and you can operate in it, you've been reversed wired. And now you should suck in society. Once you're changed to this, you shouldn't be able to, you can't bounce back and forth. And we act like you can, but you can't because you've been reverse wired. Okay. So for me, as an example, LTSD is I am now calm in chaos. If the environment is absolutely level 10 chaotic, I'm chill as a cucumber because that's what you have to be in a combat environment.
Yeah. Right.
CQB, fighting within a house, it's crazy. So I'm calm in chaos. If the environment is calm, that chaos is in my brain. Like I can't
What's your
handle.
outlet? Yeah.
I can't handle calm.
Right.
I need that chaos to be comfortable. So what do? I create chaos.
Okay.
I drink. I ride a motorcycle 120 miles an hour. I get into relationships that I know are gonna be painful because I need chaos. And that girl looks chaotic. Sold. I'm in, right? And that's but that's what I need. I've been reverse wired, and so I have to create that chaos. And as soon as I create it, I'm calm again.
Okay. Wow.
And so that's I need traumatic stress to feel calm.
Are you still in that space?
Yes, but I now, because I figured it out, I now know how to create healthy chaos.
Okay.
Like, so for me, being on set, it's fucking chaotic, especially when you're, directing and producing and acting. Like, it's chaos.
I'm sure.
So that chaos of the environment, like, I love, working on the show because it's chaos. So I'm good at it, and it fills that need. It's healthy chaos, and I just have to be aware. Outside of that too, sometimes, I'll start to feel myself creating that chaos, in a negative, bad way, and I'm like, all right, this is why you're doing it, and once you know the why, it's much easier to change it. But I think, my LTSD thing, and you also got to understand, like, there's a whole thing about brain chemistry. Like, when I got out of the military, I got the injury and I got out of the military, and I was just like, I'm normally so resilient. And I was like, but I'm just disproportionately emotional, and I could just tell my brain wasn't normal. So I went and got an entire hormone blood test, everything. And my testosterone was 7. I'm like, well, shit, you know?
Yeah.
Because I couldn't work out for 5 years, and, you know, I went from here to here, and I was like, well, that's not good.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, well, that's why I'm being emotional. And it's just one of those things where, for whatever reason, especially in the US, no one takes an integrated approach. It's like, you have PTSD, go to mental therapy. But don't worry about like your hormones. That has nothing to do with anything. Bullshit.
Right.
Like, you know, happiness is literally a chemical. It's called fucking serotonin.
Right.
Yeah.
Like serotonin, norepinephrine, or you know, all those things. It's like, it's literally chemicals. If you don't deal with the chemical, especially talking about TBI and how TBI affects your brain's production of chemicals, it's like, you got to do everything. You got to do everything at once. You can't just do therapy or this.
Right.
It's an integrated approach. And to my knowledge, I've never seen any place that takes a fully integrated approach to, I don't think you can work on mental health without also working on physical health, without also working on spiritual health. It all goes together.
It's all
Right.
right.
Yeah.
Have you ever looked into or experimented with plant medicine like ayahuasca,
So
ape?
funny you say that. So I've been wanting to do ayahuasca for probably 3 years now.
Okay.
And just with the show, the timing hasn't worked out. I have dozens and dozens of friends who have done it, and I've never heard anyone say it was anything but amazing.
Right.
My buddy has a nonprofit that takes veterans on experiences, and
Right.
it's combinates. You know, sometimes it's ayahuasca, ibogaine, psilocybin. You know, he's got
Yeah.
a whole kind of system, and everyone that I know that's done it says life changing. So I'm definitely going to do it. I haven't yet, but just waiting for the right time.
I would love to introduce you.
Yeah, no, I've heard nothing but great things, and it's, you know, I think we're just now starting to open the door into experiences that actually not only, you know, what do you get from a therapist? You talk to them and they give you some feedback, but all change happens from within. All realization happens from within. And, you know, obviously with ayahuasca, you're making your own realizations. And that's why that stuff sticks, is because it's not just therapy, it's you going within yourself. And I think that we're really on the edge of truly, and you're also talking about potentially with like psilocybin and things, changing the structure of the brain.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, healing the brain, and I personally think that healing the brain is the real. I think that's the real approach that needs to be taken with like PTSD and these things, because it's ultimately it's a brain issue, it's a chemical issue, it's
Right.
You know what I mean? It's you know.
I think it also like encompasses a lot of healing for that trauma, like purging and just releasing, sitting with yourself, being still.
Yeah.
Right.
Just so much to take in and learn. And
It is, but I also like, from both of what you're saying, I feel like you have to, like you're talking about society and things like that, you have to be able to be in tune with yourself from the beginning. And even like, there's some questions I wanted to ask you about with your arm and just going in the military, and like you could call it LTSD, LTSD, and then things like that. It's like you already, just talking to you and listening to you about this, you already have had a center. You know, whether it be center to the way left or to the way right or dead center, you already had know yourself enough to know that you need chaos, you need this, you need that. That's already you in tune with yourself. I don't care if it's the best way or the right way or the wrong way. You already had a sense of who you are. And now where you're at right now, the one I was going to ask you about the arm, just listening to you, you seem pretty damn good
you are
and okay.
10 steps ahead of
You
a lot
know,
of other
and
people
it's
that
pretty
are in
amazing,
your space.
actually.
Well, I didn't know who I was. I I basically had to figure it out.
Right.
And no one's going to tell you. I don't care what therapist you have. The only way to know who you are is to do the work yourself,
Right.
and figure it out.
But that's
Right.
what I mean by that,
Yeah.
because like I said, from the start of this whole conversation, you know, when we were laughing about the whole Rambo thing, you already had a plan of what you wanted for yourself,
Yeah.
in theory. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you've taken that plan and you've blossomed it into the second part of your career. That's what I'm getting at. And,
Yeah,
and
oh,
in
yeah,
order to
yeah.
do that, no matter how much chaos you had, you still stuck to your plan. You know, like you still look, you're directing, you're acting. All these things have blossomed because you still, no matter what happened, you still had a plan of what you, Tyler, wanted in your life. And that's what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
your brain chemistry
Very true.
already at this point, no matter what's going on in there, you already had, you're centered enough with a plan, and that's the start. You know, so that's what I'm getting at. So
Oh,
I feel
yeah,
like you've had
no.
enough to, you've had enough to work with in your life already in order to get to this point. And most people don't even have that, by the way. That's where the issues lie.
Yeah, I'm very lucky that I've always known what I wanted to do, and I'll say this, which I've been saying quite often to people, which is, I now personally, I think we all know. Well, I'll start with this, and that is, when I used to do the speaking events, I would say, look, I don't know. I can't, room of 50 people. I can't tell anyone here how to be happy.
Right.
It's too complex. I don't know you. I can't tell you how to be happy. But I can give you a 100% surefire way to be miserable. And that is be something other than who you really are. Guaranteed recipe for misery.
Right.
And the reverse of that, obviously, if you reverse it, then happiness is self-actualization. On that note, a lot of, you hear all the time, like, life is about, discovering who you are. It's about becoming who you, blah, blah, blah. I no longer agree with that. I personally think that we know who we are as children. I think we know exactly who we are. I think we know exactly what we want. And then I think we let society, parents, friends, all these things steer us away from our intrinsic nature, because it wants you to be what it wants you to be, not what you want to be. And it's putting all these barriers and walls in front of you. And like, when I just kind of thought of myself as a kid, I was like, shit, I know who I was.
Right.
I know who I was then. You're your most authentic self. It's before life has, hit you with a baseball bat in the face. So I really think if people thought about it enough, what you liked as a kid is, you still like the same shit.
Yeah.
It doesn't change. I mean,
Right.
you find new things, and don't get me wrong,
we
but
evolve and grow.
But by and large, you were your most authentic self.
And just think of all the things that we fight
Before
ourselves.
society got their
Right,
claws in
right.
us.
Yep.
Like
And
when-
we put them in the school, and it starts social conditioning, and it's that whole thing that I always talk about.
Yeah, we do a lot.
But
Yeah.
kids are like in their most before they put all the rules, like, you got to color in the lines, you got to do this,
yeah.
like, just let them be. Let
It's
them
like,
be
it's
them,
funny off of
their
that note,
creative
and I
selves.
truly 100% believe in both of what you're saying, because like with you, like I've always known, and it's actually, I've told you I'm about to start doing motivational speaking gigs myself on what you just said, because I've known who I was since from very little, and thank God, like, my dad tried to skew me here and there, and I had that's where I have some of the whole success and all these things in my mind because of that side. But thank God for my mom, who just said, you can do whatever you want to do. I will support whatever you want to do, and da da da. But my littlest one, what I'm getting at, she's like, Dad, she plays softball. She goes, she's 9. She goes, I want to be the first female baseball player. And I go, yeah, honey. I go, that's great. How are we going to get there? And so, and I'm more than happy to show you how to do it. Just make sure that's what you want, we're going to stick to the plan.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I'm never going to deter you. I'm not going to say it's just for boys.
Yeah.
Go, I believe you can do it, and let's go for it.
Yeah,
So I hear you
absolutely.
on that. So
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Well, like I said, you're on point. You have your stuff together. You're very calm. I don't know what chaos we've gotten here to make you so calm today, Tyler.
That's why he likes
but
me, 'cause
Jesus
I'm
Christ, it's like, 'cause
I'm a
you're-
ball of
You're
chaos.
calming me down. I'm just like, I'm sitting there going, I need some chaos right now. But you're like calming me down. So we're gonna add some more chaos in your life right now, but throwing in the
Give you a
air
little
episode
chaos.
right now. Right? Hey, you know what? You already got me earlier today. All right, so guys. We have Tyler Gray on our show today, and thank you so much for being here. This guy's amazing right now, former Ranger and now acting and doing his thing. So he's just actually complicated his life by making it more chaotic with fun and excitement and entertainment. So thank you for entertaining the world with what you do.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
All right, so here's our topic episode today. It's called Fight or Flight. When do you know if you should fight for something or decide it's time to move on and let it go? And I'm not just talking about just relationships in general, because there's always something that we want so bad, and it's just sometimes just like, we just didn't reach the end, and we can't. It's just not meant to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll speak from my experience. I think I would argue that I don't know, because you just if you really knew, you would theoretically do it. But
Right.
I feel like there's just this fear of making the wrong decision, and especially if someone is stubborn and not doesn't quit things easily. Like, I'll spend years trying to fix something that's fundamentally broken, but I just won't give up on it.
This relationships as well, same?
Yeah, I've done it in every I would say every relationship I've ever been in.
Okay.
I definitely should have ended it, well before it ended, because it just, it goes off the rails, and for some reason, I always seem to think that I'm always trying to get it back to the great thing it was in the beginning, and I also have this sense of loyalty where if someone was really, good to me in the beginning, and I just feel this like debt, to where when things start to go bad, it's like, well, that'd be really, shitty of me to
Like abandon them.
Yeah, like I owe them going through this rough time, or it's just they're having issues with whatever, and I mean, I've probably spent, let's see, in one relationship, probably easily 4 years, too long. I mean, it should have never happened to begin with.
4 years.
That's a long time.
Yeah. Well,
Shit. How long was the relationship?
Let's see, 6.
6 years.
Yeah, and I mean, again, it should have never happened, but definitely should have ended after the first 2 years, no question.
Someone should have taken your draft options off the board then, mister.
Yeah, I
Sorry.
I definitely, and that was my fault.
Okay.
100%. And next relationship was 10 years, and I probably, let's see, how many years in, it would be 3 years. So
Out of 10.
yeah,
Okay.
You
So
should have called it quits after 3.
yeah, called it quits
Damn,
after
you're
3.
staying a lot longer.
But now, what does the other half? What are they doing while this is happening in your mind? How's the other half reacting? Are they in it with you at this point? Or are you guys trying to figure it out? Or they sometimes just don't have a clue, and you're just kind of, you should be getting out, but they still maybe feel the same, or they know they should be out of this as well.
I would say it depends.
Okay.
And then the third one I was going to say is it was 5 years, and it should have ended after probably 3.
Okay.
And I'd say, at least with that one, I think probably in hindsight, I think she would agree that it should have ended, and I think she probably felt the same. She just, both being stubborn. The one before that, I'd say the same.
Okay.
And then the one before that, that was definitely, that was all me. And,
Okay.
And she had no real, she thought everything was fine.
Got it.
And
That's what I wanted to know.
yeah, that was my just and I was obviously much younger and much more unaware. But yeah, I definitely should have.
Okay.
I didn't communicate that I was unhappy, and more than even unhappy, I didn't even want to be in a relationship in general at the time. So that was definitely my fault. But it's just one of those things where you do. I think the best way to say it would be, like my parents were codependent, 100%. Dad is an alcoholic, and my mom and dad were crazy codependent. So, not shockingly, I took those traits to every relationship I was in, and I also chose codependent people.
Define for
Shocker.
you what is codependent. I feel like that shows up for other people in different ways.
Right.
Yeah, for me, codependent is, you're essentially trying to fix the other person. You're trying to change them. You're trying to help them. My mom always tried to get my dad to quit drinking. Never happened because he's not going to do it for anyone but himself. And so I would get into relationships with people that I, in hindsight, could tell were fundamentally broken, and so was I.
Right.
So I would choose that, and then, I would, when if you're in a relationship and they're unhappy and it makes you unhappy, that's codependency, because their mood, their happiness shouldn't affect yours at all.
Right. I always say I'm not responsible for your happiness.
No, and I've tried, in the last 2 relationships, I tried so hard to make them happy, and it doesn't work. And not only does it not work, but the more that you try and make someone else happy, A, it fails because you can't, and then you're not responsible for that, and then B, on top of that, it builds all this resentment that you have towards them because they didn't ask you to try and make them happy. You're doing it. They're not happy, and you're giving and giving and giving, and you're not receiving anything back, and they're not, happy. And so you resent them for that, even though it's your fault.
Right.
And then in a codependent relationship, it happens the exact same way on the opposite. So, it just, I had to learn that, you need to be selfish, focus on your own happiness, and focus on, you're the main priority, and you can't make someone else happy. You can't make them, you can't make someone love you, all these different things. And, it only took me, like 45 years to learn that.
Right.
That's all.
The hard
I feel good. I feel good. I feel like I've moved quickly.
Yeah.
You've grown.
Yeah.
The hard part is like when the signs are coming and you just can't, like you said, in your case, you just want to help out, or you want to make sure you don't leave them or abandon them and things like that. And you're just kind of and you see it coming, but you're kind of like that guilt sets in, or whatever it is. Whatever it is takes over.
We know within the first few months.
Right.
But what happens is we rationalize and we make excuses.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just this or that. But then looking back, I feel like we can identify, okay, I did ignore that red flag, or I did ignore this.
Well, we should hope so, because if you get back into something, we start off by thinking that, because, we're all stronger, we're all getting into something for the most part, we've learned our lesson.
Right.
It's not going to happen again, And then you get the next one, you're like, fuck. Like you said, it's here it goes again, but you start to catch those signs a little bit sooner. But once again, you just can't get out. And it's that thing with the marriage a lot of the time why communication is so key, because when someone voices an opinion of saying like, I don't want to be here anymore, or I just don't like you, or you just don't make me happy. And it's like, well, let me try to fix this, and this, and let's see if this will work.
Yeah, that's I don't know if that's really communication. It's more so comprehension. So I think we can communicate all day long, but if we can't comprehend what the other person is trying to convey, you're not going to win, no matter how great your communication is. It's being able to actually comprehend and understand the needs of your partner.
Right. And still, on both sides, it's still a cop-out, though, because if someone said that to you, like, Jamie, you're just not fulfilling my needs, and yet they still stay, while you're going through your old, like you said, your own stuff, and I'm going through mine now. Now we're codependent on each other.
Right.
It's like, well,
That's
the
a
person who
recipe
said
for
that
fucking
should
disaster.
have fucking got out in the first place too.
Yeah.
So you're right. It's a lot of codependency, and that's a different way of looking at it. And because there are many ways of codependency.
Absolutely. And, I read a book, Codependent No More, which is like the Bible of codependency, for lack of a better term. And it's, it's a great book. And a lot of things applied to me when I read it. And, the other thing is that I think there's, with codependency, I personally think there's another core issue, which is fundamentally, for me, I'll say that as a child growing up, like I was alone a lot. I had imaginary friends, I was alone quite often, and I hated it.
Okay.
It drove me crazy. And, I took that into adulthood of not wanting to be alone. And so, when you're in a relationship and it's going bad, is it worse than being lonely?
Right.
Usually, it's probably not, but you have this fear of loneliness, and you feel like you need someone, because when you're by yourself, that's when you're when you're by yourself, that's when you actually have to listen to your own
and
head.
sit with it and learn from that stuff. I agree with that.
Well, no, I mean on a negative side.
Oh, gotcha.
Like when you're alone,
right?
That's when, like my mind, if I'm alone, and like my head will just start spinning on negative things. So I for a lot of my life, I was generally just trying to distract my thoughts, because they'll run nonstop. Going to sleep, it'll just freaking, and it's,
right.
It's kind of a mental, torture in a way. So, I would stay in relationships because it was a distraction, and it was someone to calm, again,
Right.
like if they're chaos, then they'll calm, me. And again, obviously that's not fair or good to be in a relationship. And I didn't realize it at the time, but now, it's obvious to me that, the fear of being alone, and the fear of being alone with my thoughts, and, just not having, interaction, was a major reason why I stayed much longer than I should have.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're still in that space?
No, I think after this the last relationship I was in, I definitely realized a lot of things. I read a lot of books, the codependency one being one of them. And
I found it. I looked it up, actually.
yeah, it's a great book. And but there's a bunch of things I read, and I really and actually I shouldn't say just that I read. I went to a 60-day, a therapy place, and inpatient, or not inpatient, but resident,
Right.
treatment. And this was a year and a couple months ago, I forget.
Okay.
But I spent 60 days doing, work on myself every
Right.
day,
That's
therapy
great.
every day, and that was an absolutely life-changing.
Was this the breakup that took you to that point that I just need to go and just start working on me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And for that, getting me to that place,
Right.
I'm glad it happened,
Okay.
because, and again, I'll obviously still have a lot of growing to do, a lot of learning and all these things, but now I definitely see the toxic traits that I had, that, there's a million things in every relationship I've ever been in that are absolutely my fault. No
Okay.
question. No
Okay.
question. And so now it's about, all right, I can't control the other person, but I'm not going to make these same mistakes
Yeah, you have
again.
to be accountable for those mistakes as well.
Yeah.
So I want to know about the flip side to all this, like with the younger generation as well. Amber, what's up, girl? We got a new intern producer behind the helm right there right now.
What's up to our new intern?
This our new intern called me sir today. I go, whoa, first of all, don't ever call me sir.
She didn't call me ma'am.
That's what I wanted to call you, ma'am. But Amber, how old are you, if I may ask?
I'm 23.
All right, so here's what I want to do the flip side on this, because I feel like the younger generation is more used to being by themselves, and because of technology and social media and all these things like that. Amber, would you agree with that, or do you still? I know you're social, but are you looking to get? No one's looking to get serious or like to really lock it down at the younger generation anymore. What do you think about that?
So the funny thing is I'm dating right now.
Okay,
So
how's that going for you?
It's going good so far. A lot of our like ups and downs is basically the same thing as Tyler has been saying.
Mm-hmm.
Is like he was a veteran before, and since he was in the battlefield, and since he is now back in reality, he can't process it as well.
Right.
So normally he's
Wow.
home a lot and he plays video games to basically balance out like his form of
To
chaos.
disconnect.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Is it a form of or a way for him to disconnect?
Yes, it's like yes and no. So basically, he uses video games to relax himself because
Okay.
that's the only way that he can relax. Since he doesn't like to like hang out with a lot of people because of his situation. Have you guys seen like Black Hawk Down?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so basically
have.
he did that.
Okay.
So
Wow.
that was his job.
Right.
And all of that. So he
Yeah.
basically uses video games to just escape reality, or when we're both having like our bad days, he uses video games to give me space.
Okay. So
Got
that's
it.
relatable then. Like,
And then are you guys more along the lines of open relationship or fully committed?
Fully committed.
I
Okay.
love that because I think that's a common thing too
Yeah.
now with the younger generation
see, and
is
I-
they have the open relationship.
this is what I want to know, right, with the open relationship. And once again, I know, like, even for our other producer, Travis, who always talks about, he just landed his girlfriend, but it's just that thing where I feel like
I can't
it's
wait
just
to fucking meet her. Look at Travis over there. So handsome.
and I don't, and you probably with your field of work and everything as well. I feel like the younger generation is still like they hang out more in groups. I mean, we all did as a younger generation, but I feel like they're not in that much of a hurry to get tied down. They're not in a hurry to get married. They're using that time to just be, and it's it's
don't
changed
you
a
want to
lot.
run around and be single? Or are you more comfortable in a relationship?
I really am.
Yeah.
I I'm working on this, but I go crazy when I'm single. Like I'm not a healthy person when I'm single. I'll be perfectly honest.
See,
with
and he
you.
owns up to that, which is great.
Yeah.
though.
I go crazy.
Yeah.
I just.
And that's okay. I mean, I think that's totally fine, because once again, it's not that you're solely monogamous. You just know yourself well enough to know
Yeah.
that you're better at being with someone, and that's probably why work is so good for you right now too, and you handling all the different hats in the work in your career, because it's keeping you so busy right now. That it's squashing all that extra noise in your life.
Yeah, well, and something I'll say too that I learned when I was in the therapy, which I never thought I would say, but I basically realized that I'm a sex addict. I didn't even know
Right.
what exactly that meant. I thought it meant something very different than it does. And then when I was reading what it is, I was like, oh shit, yeah, yep, and so
So that diagnosis is correct.
yeah, no, I definitely, I have an addictive personality in general. I'm addicted to adrenaline. I'm, addicted to all these different things. And again, I think the core of addiction is self-destruction. So is it really shocking that so many warriors have addictive issues? I don't think so, because that's a side effect of self-destruction. And also, self-destruction is interesting because how do I justify self-destruction? Well, I justify it because you don't get better by being comfortable.
Yeah, we
You-
grow
yeah.
when we're.
We grow when, like, the lower I take myself, the more I learn about myself and the more I grow.
Okay.
So I justify self-destruction as self-improvement.
Interesting.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
a
always
great way of
say
saying that.
if you're seeking growth, you better get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because
Right.
that's what it fucking requires
Yeah.
to level up.
Yep.
Yeah.
And now I am so comfortable with discomfort that if I'm comfortable,
What's next?
it doesn't. It makes me feel
Then
weird. and I
what are
hate
you
it.
doing next?
Exactly. I'm wasting my time, and so the sex addiction part though is really, when I'm single, I just fucking go bananas.
Yeah.
Like, and again, I fully admit, like, I do not do well being single. So, and a weird thing is, I was in 2 open relationships, and I didn't like it, which is
Right.
weird because you'd think I would, but I'm just not wired for it. So I prefer, to be in a monogamous relationship, and I just want I want the Bonnie to my Clyde.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. I want
Yeah.
a ride or die who's just down for anything, and I want a life partner, someone to do life with as a team, and that just kind of like, again, is that healthy, wanting to be in, like I'm better in a relationship? I don't know, probably not. I probably need to figure out some,
No, I feel like I operate at a higher level when I'm in a committed relationship.
yeah, see, I
This coming
feel-
from the girl who breaks up before Christmas. I'm just kidding.
I do.
Let's discuss that, Jamie. No, I'm
Yeah,
kidding. That's another episode.
Dive into that
it's-
shit. Christmas
sorry.
is right around the corner.
It's
Fuck, I'm doomed.
it's economics. It's economics.
It's like, that's right.
Yeah.
See, you're really getting a new light. Thank you, Tyler. It's
They're
economics. It's
identifying
very
my fucking
economical.
my patterns.
Just it's all about money. No,
Shit.
but I agree with you. I'm the same way. I definitely
Makes me fucking feel uncomfortable.
I do better in a relationship.
Okay.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
So do I.
I do too. And we've talked about this, like the open thing. I'm with you on that. Maybe I'm just not wired for it. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
You're
I'm-
a whore though.
Well, but that's the interesting
No
thing.
hiding.
Like I'm a man whore.
Yeah.
I'll fully admit that, and I've been really shitty to a lot of girls. I've been hurt, and I've hurt a lot of people because I was immature and I didn't. At this point, I've reached out to almost every single girl
Yeah.
that and apologized, and because I understand what I was doing now, but whether they needed it or not, I really felt the need to say it. But you'd think in man whore world,
Can I dive into this world?
yeah, but you would think that like an open relationship would be like,
Right?
oh, fuck,
Yeah.
this is awesome.
Yeah.
And I just, both times I've tried to like do it, and both times I just don't like it.
It doesn't
Okay.
align with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't work. But again, you'd think it would. And I know a couple that are in an open relationship. They've been in one for 7 years, and it works for
Yeah.
them.
So-
And
When you say you're a sex addict, do you just want to have a lot of sex with the same person then? Or do you crave something different? Do you cheat? Like what?
no,
Define your, like, what is your definition of a sex addict?
I mean, it's different for everyone, obviously, but like for me, I really need that like it's not it's so fundamental to like my needs. Like I have to, and it's not even like necessarily sex every single day. It's just it's one of those things where I am addicted to like being sexual with someone, and if it goes along with like porn addiction, like I looked at Playboy magazines when I was fucking 7 years old, and actually the way I found out that I was a sex addict is because I figured out through reading the stuff, I was like, all these qualities match my dad, you know? And then I kind of was like, oh shit, it matches me too, you know,
Right.
like, and so I think it's, I don't want to say hereditary, but it's
Maybe a predisposition.
yeah, absolutely. And like I said, he's an alcoholic, so he has the same addictive traits, but you know, he's absolutely a sex addict. And I don't want to talk anymore about how I know that, but but it's one of those things where, you know, I just, like, when I was younger, I was all about the chase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was all about the chase, and as soon as the chase was over, next.
Yeah.
And again, that's not good for people. But it was just, I couldn't control it. And each time I would tell myself, no, I really like this girl. Like, I was subconsciously manipulating myself
Right.
to
Stay on that path and
yeah,
keep moving
yeah,
forward.
to get her. And then once I got her, I didn't want her anymore. And it was, and I hated myself for it. And each time I would think, oh, I'm not doing it this way. And then for a while, I wouldn't date anyone. I wouldn't, you know, because I didn't want to hurt them.
Yeah.
How did you get out of that space?
I think partly just getting older, you know.
More mature.
Yeah, like in my 20s, I was such a shithead. Well, even in my early 30s. But I think as I got older, it just kind of, you know, the impulse as a
Yeah.
guy when you're younger, it's like, fucking do it.
It's like
fuck it,
everything.
yeah. It's such a relentless drive. And then I finally, you know, kind of,
It's like it balances out. Like it almost plateaus, and you just
Yeah.
kind of just go, all right, because you've been, like you said, you've been through it enough to finally, like anything, you've been through enough to go, all right, I know where I'm at now. I know how I need to be, and da da da. Hopefully, you know,
Yeah.
hopefully
I love when you go da da da.
that's me
Da, da,
skipping
da.
over a lot of shit.
Yeah.
well, the other thing too is I think that you, you know, like as you get older too, like now it's like, you know, even when, you know, being single now, it's like, you know, you see a girl or a girl even shows interest, and you just kind of do the math of time and effort, and you're like, nah.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, could I? Yeah.
Right.
Do I really want to at this point?
See, that's the stuff that kept me at bay at a young age, though, Tyler, right there. The chase has always been there. Like, I love the chases. I love the shit out of women now. And it's just like, you know, the funny thing about it is that I know, I've been through it so much to know where I look down that path that you're saying. It's like,
Yeah.
no, it's not even worth going there, because I don't want to be in that situation the next day where feels like I'm an asshole, or vice versa,
Yeah.
or anything like that. I can cut it off, because the thrill of the chase is the lead up, and then I'm happy at that point and go, yeah, I don't see us together tomorrow. I don't see us together in a year from now. So I'm going to stop this before it gets bad.
Absolutely the same
I got really
way.
good at that. So, yeah. And no Christmas.
Shut the hell up.
No Christmas. All right. So, guys, we have Tyler Gray on the show. We are going to ask you the question today, Mr. Man. You get the question. You've been a great guest, and we're going to dive right into this one. All right. So I'm going to choose one of these things.
How many do we have today?
We have a few.
Okay.
Oh, this will be a good one. At what point is it acceptable to send a nude pic? They ask for them right away, and most of the time I'm uncomfortable, so I say no. Now I kind of want to, but I don't want to come off as easy or like a slut. Wow, she went right there for it. So, at what point is it acceptable to send a nude pic?
I mean, that's a good question. I would say it varies.
Yeah, right.
It definitely varies. I would also say it varies between if you're, you know, a guy or a girl. You know, like I think it's hilarious to me that dudes, you know, meet a chick one or two times and then send dick pics. That's such a fundamental misunderstanding of
Right.
women. It's kind of hilarious. But
Just wait till you hear the answers from girls on how they react to that. That's even more laughable.
yeah, it's crazy. But like, you know, nude pictures, I'd say once doesn't necessarily, the relationship doesn't necessarily need to have turned physical in person, but once there's, you know, a sexual dialogue, you know, and it's heading that way, I think at that point it's acceptable. Once it's within the sexual realm, then I think it's acceptable. But until it gets there, I think it's out of context.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I agree with that. What do you say on that one, Jamie?
I don't think it's
I know you get a
ever
lot of dick
fucking
pics, so I get
acceptable
that.
to send me a fucking dick pic unless I ask.
And that's the
And
acceptable part you're
I
talking
feel
about.
like if I want it, I'll come fucking see it and take it.
I'll take that any day.
Okay, yeah, sorry. Let me be very specific. Just so, let me be very specific. I was answering that in reference to,
yes.
a girl.
That's
No,
correct.
of
And we
course.
were
yeah.
yeah.
I was,
Yes.
a girl. For a guy, I have never sent an unsolicited, any picture.
Right.
If your girlfriend was like, "Hey, baby, send me your," would you send it?
Oh, I'd send.
Yeah.
I mean, I've sent dick pics, but it was because it was requested.
Right.
I mean, I think I've sent unsolicited dick pics to my girlfriend. I mean, because she's,
You're like,
we're at that
hello.
point in our lives.
Yeah.
So,
Well, yeah.
so I'm not. You're right. Thank you. And that's acceptable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm sure I've done it for a joke, at some point. Take a picture of the, of the key and send it to me where it's at. And
Yeah.
then, you got the key, and then in the deep background, like, yep, there's a dick there.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's use it for fun. But
I'd be like, "Baby."
Yeah. It's no different than what we want the girl to come to the door with that trench coat on, with nothing else on.
No,
I mean, it's just, it's all in good
absolutely.
taste and fun.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't send photos.
You
But
don't
I
have to.
think
You're in
'cause-
lingerie all day long. I mean, what's like?
whatever.
I'm just saying. It's like
Yeah.
it's like obviously it's just the imagination is already at that
Just Google
point.
me.
Well, you know what though, that actually does bring up a very good point, and that is, now in the digital age, to further answer her question, is if you're going to send a nude photo, hey, not all relationships last forever, and just know that whatever you send digitally will last forever and can get posted anywhere.
And this
That's a
is
good
why
point.
I've never sent a nude fucking photo.
Well, but that's so shitty though. I mean,
It's not because I'm like, "Baby, if you want to see me naked,
right.
come on over."
I meant shitty in the fact that not that you do that, just shitty in the fact that
it's just
someone might
it's a
actually
trust
take
thing.
revenge or something weird out there. That's shitty.
Especially like with you and like your industry too, blackmail, all these things.
Yeah.
So I just don't engage and I don't send them. So
That makes a lot of sense. But
And on that note, for the girl asking the question, once you get to that point, if you want to send a nude photo, don't put your face in it.
good point.
You know, it's a lot harder. If you want to see me naked, you see my face in every fucking picture. If you want to see me naked, just don't take a picture
see, that
of your
doesn't
face.
even work for me because my body is so online already. Like there's things that I can't remove.
Okay.
So I mean, I guess you could like take out my dermals, my piercings, but
Right, I see what you're saying.
yeah. So
Okay, and by the way, Miss Slat over
Yeah.
here, don't
Send
ever
the
think that
nudes.
if you're ever gonna feel like you're easier coming off a slut, that means you're feeling peer pressure, first of all, and don't ever
I
feel
agree.
that way. Okay, so if you want to send something, there's no time frame, there's no time limit, and don't ever feel like you're under time pressure to send someone a photo of yourself
and
nude.
sometimes like even lingerie, that's hotter
Yeah,
too.
I
Like you don't
think
need to
that's so
be
much
putting your
better.
pussy on blast, girl.
Yeah. Well, and look, I'll say this as a self-admitted man whore. I think the pressure on women to the concept of I don't want to appear slutty, like
I do.
we're like human beings are fucking sexual fucking dirty animals.
Yeah.
Every fucking people that say, oh, I don't blah blah blah, yeah, they're the ones who choke me till I pass out.
Right.
Everyone
Yeah.
acts like
Right.
they're like this, and then when you get them in the moment, it's like fucking punch me in the face.
Yeah. But that goes back to the
Spit
true
in my
authentic
mouth.
self again. Just like own up to what you're doing.
And that's what I'm saying.
The thing.
Like feeling like you're a slut, that's society fucking
Yeah.
putting
Thank
that
you.
on you.
Yeah.
Don't
I agree.
Get rid of that. Everyone's a slut. Everyone's a whore.
Right.
Like that's
and
we are,
own it, for God's sake. If you want to be like
Where
you
was this conversation an hour ago?
yeah. Well, no, I mean, but it's one of those things. Like, think about it. We literally, if you think of what nature has programmed us for, and this is unarguable.
Yes.
Number one, we are programmed to survive. That's the most fundamental. Survive.
Yep.
Number two, fuck.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are. Everyone is programmed to fuck. And then three, take care of the fuck product.
It's a connection.
Yeah.
Well, the child,
Right. Yes.
take care of that
Oh,
child.
okay.
And then, you know what I mean? Like, but that's what we're programmed to do. No one can argue with that. So it's like, why are we going against our fundamental nature?
We know why, because it's all programming.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
And what society places on us. So
Yes, absolutely.
to control.
Well, no more.
Yeah.
No more people. All right,
Thank you
guys.
so
Yeah,
much for
this
hanging
has
out with us
been
today.
amazing.
Absolutely,
I feel
Tyler.
like we need to have you back because there's just so much to dive into with you. We didn't even talk about your hat. Let's talk about them really quick, or at least plug them. When I met Tyler, he gave me this hat, and I was like, "Wow, this is really cool." So tell us a little bit about that, really quick.
So
if
it's
you don't
actually
mind.
a former teammate of mine started a company called Eagles and Angels, and he takes or we donate, and there's I don't even know over 100 people now that have done it, where we donate our uniforms from when we were in, and then he takes them and cuts them up and makes that's part of my uniform.
Sid, could you grab that
Yeah.
hat for us?
That's part of my uniform. That's the camo behind the
that's
flag.
that's amazing.
And he makes wallets and other stuff, and so it's actually
This
part
is
of my worn
actually
uniform.
his fatigues,
That's,
right?
That's
Yep.
great.
From when he served, and then it has his name in here.
Oh, that's unbelievable.
Ooh,
Yeah, and
yeah.
and so that's the Eagle collection the company's called Eagles and Angels, and then I forget what percentage. So I donate the uniform,
It's really cool.
and then I choose a veteran nonprofit, and he donates a
The proceeds?
percentage. No, it's a percentage because. As him and I always joke, it's like, it cost him money
Right.
to do it. So he's
Right.
got to make something out of it. But he donates a percentage of the profits to the nonprofit that I choose for my, for my hat.
What a great cause.
And there's a bunch of cool stories from, like I said, over 100 veterans that have done that series. So
Okay.
it's awesome.
That's
I love
amazing.
that.
I love that too.
What do you have to plug today, sir?
You know what? I'm plugless. I'm going to go
Yeah,
plugless today. I'm
right.
just going to
I
say.
love it.
Yeah, I'm plugless today.
Just,
Wi-
just
wireless?
check him out.
Gonna go wireless?
Right. So, all right, guys, we have Tyler Gray on our show. And once again, Tyler, please let them know where they can find you on. And first, tell the show, SEAL Team, guys. Check it out. What station's that on one more time, please?
So it's on CBS
Right.
originally, and now it's moved over to Paramount Plus.
Okay.
Which is Paramount's platform. So on Paramount Plus, you can get every episode. But and then social media. So you can find me Tyler A. Gray with an E on Instagram.
All right.
And yeah.
That's great.
I love it.
Yeah. Jamie?
All right, Jamie_Villamore. You guys know where to find me. And
All
what
right.
about you?
When anything at Dating Intelligence, and me, my personal at Fetch Sport. And guys, this has been a great day. It's Sticky Pastillos. Tyler, thanks once again. Jamie,
And thank
great
you
show.
to our new producer over
Yes.
there. Woohoo!
Thanks, Amber, for some of your
Thanks
feedback.
for chiming in. Yes,
please.
Love it.
All right, guys, it's another episode, and we will see you soon.
Way too high to hear low.